Maya and Connor's GPS had led them down a desolate country road when a car suddenly blocked their path. Two men rushed their vehicle, dragging them both onto the pavement with nowhere to run. The attackers had them cornered, cutting off every escape route. Then one attacker's face went pale as he stared at something behind the couple. Maya and Connor were driving to their weekend cabin getaway when the GPS directed them off the main highway onto a narrower road. At first, it seemed like a simple shortcut through the countryside, but as they continued, the road became more winding and isolated. Trees pressed in from both sides, blocking out the fading daylight. Maya noticed how empty everything seemed. No other cars, no houses, not even road signs. The GPS showed they were still on the correct route, but something felt wrong. Connor agreed but figured they were committed now. The sun was setting, and they needed to reach their destination before dark. Turning back would add another hour to their journey. The road twisted through dense forest. The pavement was cracked in places, with weeds growing through the asphalt. This clearly wasn't a well-maintained route. The isolation was becoming unsettling. Every curve seemed to lead deeper into wilderness. Connor was about to suggest they reconsider their route when headlights appeared behind them. A car was approaching fast, too fast for these winding roads. Connor moved to the right, expecting it to pass. Instead, it swerved around them and cut directly in front, hitting its brakes hard. Connor slammed his foot down, feeling their tires skid. Their car stopped just inches from the other vehicle's bumper. Before they could process what was happening, both doors of the car ahead flew open. Two men jumped out and started running toward them. Connor's first instinct was to reverse, but before he could shift gears, one of the men reached Maya's door and yanked it open. Maya screamed. The man started shouting demands for money, wallets, phones, anything valuable. The second man appeared at Connor's window, blocking any escape. He banged on the glass, yelling for Connor to get out. Connor tried to stay calm, raising his hands. He told them through the window they could have whatever they wanted. Just don't hurt them. His mind raced, searching for a way out of this nightmare. But the situation was escalating. The man at Maya's door grabbed her arm, trying to pull her from the vehicle. Maya resisted, kicking at him. Her survival instincts had taken over. Connor lunged across to help her, but the second attacker reached through his window and grabbed him by the collar, yanking him backward. Connor lost his grip on Maya. She tumbled out of the car onto the road. The attacker followed her as she tried to scramble away. Connor broke free and rushed around the car. Maya got to her feet and tried to run, but the attacker caught up and grabbed her shoulder. Connor reached them and tried to pull the man away. The second attacker joined his companion, and now both men had them trapped against their vehicle. There was nowhere to run. The empty road stretched endlessly in both directions. Connor positioned himself between Maya and the attackers. One of the men shoved him hard against the car. The man demanded their wallets again, his patience running out. The other attacker was going through Maya's purse, dumping the contents onto the ground. Their phones clattered onto the pavement. Maya was shaking, tears streaming down her face. Connor told her it would be okay. They just needed to cooperate. But even after getting what they wanted, would these men just leave? The thought terrified him. They were miles from anywhere, completely alone. That's when everything changed. The attacker closest to Connor suddenly stopped moving, his eyes fixed on something behind them. His expression shifted from aggression to confusion, then to fear. Real fear. The kind of fear that makes someone forget everything else. His companion noticed and turned to look. His reaction was identical. Both men took several steps backward, away from Maya and Connor. Their faces had gone pale. Whatever they were seeing had shaken them completely. Connor slowly turned his head. His breath caught in his throat. Time seemed to freeze. A wolf stood on the road behind them, maybe 20 feet away. The animal was massive, larger than any dog Connor had ever seen. It stood perfectly still, watching the scene with intense focus. Its presence commanded absolute attention. Connor felt Maya's hand grip his arm tightly. Neither of them moved. Neither dared to breathe. The wolf's eyes took in everything. The cars, the four humans, the tension. Connor could feel his pulse racing in his ears. The attackers were backing toward their vehicle now, moving slowly. They kept their eyes on the wolf. One of them muttered something to the other, his voice shaking. The fear in their movements was unmistakable. Then another wolf emerged from the vegetation on the left. A third appeared on the right. They moved with eerie coordination, positioning themselves strategically. The pack was surrounding them. Connor felt his legs go weak. The wolves weren't aggressive. They weren't growling or baring their teeth, but their presence was commanding. Their focus was clearly on the two attackers. The animals seemed to understand exactly what was happening. That was enough. The men broke into a run, sprinting for their car. One nearly fell, catching himself on the hood. They threw themselves inside and the engine roared to life. The tires screeched as the car accelerated away, fishtailing before disappearing around the curve. Dust hung in the air where they'd been. The wolves remained. Maya and Connor stood frozen, afraid to move. The three animals watched them calmly, with none of the intensity they'd directed at the attackers. Then, as if responding to some invisible signal, the wolves turned. They trotted back toward the forest with coordinated grace. Within seconds, they had vanished into the trees. Connor and Maya didn't move for several minutes. They stood in that empty road, holding each other, trying to process what had happened. Eventually, Connor's hands stopped shaking enough that he felt safe to drive. They got back in the car and left, Connor watching the roadside constantly. They drove to the nearest town and found the police station. The officer who took their report listened with growing interest. When they mentioned the wolves, he nodded knowingly. He explained that this road bordered the territory of a recently reintroduced wolf pack. Wildlife officials had been monitoring the animals for about a year as part of a conservation program. Connor called a wildlife biologist the next day. She listened to their account and asked questions about the wolves' behavior. She explained that wolves typically avoid humans, but this pack had likely been observing the commotion from the forest. The raised voices and aggressive behavior might have triggered their curiosity or territorial instincts. Whether the wolves understood that Maya and Connor were in danger, or whether they simply appeared at the right moment, would remain a mystery. Wild animals don't think like humans. Their motivations are driven by instinct, not heroism. But Maya and Connor knew what they'd seen. The attackers had recognized real danger and fled without hesitation. For two people who had felt completely helpless, the wolves' arrival had been nothing short of miraculous. The attackers were never caught. Whoever they were, they'd clearly known enough about wolves to understand the threat. Maya and Connor eventually made it to their cabin, though much later than planned. The weekend gave them a story they would tell for the rest of their lives, a reminder that sometimes when we need it most, the wilderness provides protection in the most unexpected ways. What would you have done if you'd been in Maya and Connor's position that evening?